Well, to debate that, I'm joined now by Melisa Newcomb. She's a research manager at the Global Taiwan Institute in Washington. And in Beijing, we have Victor Gao. He's a political analyst who specializes in Chinese affairs, as well as the director of the China National Association of International Studies. Thanks so much for joining us. Melisa, let's look at who Taiwan's friends are. It's down to fewer than 20. It's at 18 now. There's a lot of Chinese pressure. Burkina Faso and Dominican Republic have left the WhatsApp group. It's going to be impossible for Taiwan to retain any friends, right?
Well, I wouldn't say it's impossible. And first of all, thank you for having me again on the show. I will say that if we're talking sheer dollar numbers, there is no way that Taiwan could compete if China is continuing their checkbook diplomacy, a very old strategy that they've been using since the 50s. But the partners that Taiwan has that value more than money are happy to stay with Taiwan. Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, for instance, has recently come out saying that they are not changing their diplomatic relations despite the courtship from Beijing.
Victor Gao, will China ever accept Taiwan as an independent nation?
No, definitely not. There is only one China, and the People's Republic of China is the sole legitimate representative of China. Yes, indeed, there are 18 countries in the world which still recognize Taiwan or the Republic of China, but I think everyone knows the megatrend, and I think once the Vatican signs up with People's Republic of China and severs the diplomatic relations with the Republic of China or Taiwan, then more countries will follow suit. So don't be surprised if there will be more countries switching to China or the People's Republic of China. And I would say, from the mainland Chinese perspective, there is no problem for Taiwan to maintain good economic, trading, and cultural relations with all the countries in the world. What China objects is any country recognizing Taiwan or the Republic of China as the sole representative of China. And this is all because of the bitter civil war, which was brought to an end, more or less, or at least in mainland China in 1949. And ever since, this separation of mainland China versus Taiwan has been in the situation, and eventually, I think this situation needs to be overcome, and there will be one China after all.
Okay, so talking about overcoming the situation, Melisa, if China continues to be frustrated by checkbook diplomacy, if we see more and more nationalist or independence fervor on the island of Taiwan, is there an inevitability to Taiwan being gobbled up by China within the next few decades?
I don't like to speak in terms of inevitability. It's definitely certain that the PRC would like to unify with Taiwan. But I think the PRC is miscalculating on how it will do so without full force. If they continue to be so aggressive towards Taiwan as it is now, an autonomous region, country, depending on who you ask, people in Taiwan would say that they live in a country. And if they could no longer be, quote unquote, the Republic of China, that's a possibility that people in Taiwan would like to entertain if it didn't lead to confrontation. People in Taiwan actually don't want confrontation. They don't want war. They want peace. They want stability in the region. And President Tsai has said that herself. So if there's any inevitability, it will be coming from the PRC being an aggressor and changing the status quo in the region. To Victor's point about the fact that people in Taiwan can still enjoy trade and exchange regardless of national status, that's something that Taiwan has been doing since the 1970s and would like to continue to do so, but finds itself blocked even when it's participating as an NGO, when its philanthropists are trying to go abroad, they're blocked because of Chinese interference. What Victor's saying simply isn't true in practice. If the PRC really had good intentions towards the people of Taiwan to continue despite a lack of normal statehood, they would be letting them participate in ICAO, they'd be letting them participate in the WHA, but they simply are not. What they're saying, their deeds, don't match up with their actions.
Okay, so Victor, what China's saying and their deeds don't match up, according to Melisa. If you wanted them to thrive, you would have let them thrive.
No, I don't think so. I think when former President Ma Ying-jeou was the leader of Taiwan, relations between mainland China and Taiwan were more or less more manageable. However, ever since Ms. Tsai Ing-wen became the president in Taiwan, relations became more and more strained. And the main reason is because Tsai Ing-wen and her political party do not want to recognize there is only one China, and the two sides of the Taiwan Strait need to work together to eventually achieve the one China status quo, for example. And Tsai Ing-wen even takes the risks of moving further and further away from this one China policy. And I think this puts a lot of pressure on mainland Chinese government, and the more recent flurry of other countries switching from Taiwan to PRC is an indication that more and more countries are fed up with this particular situation. They, of course, want to have better relations with the largest trading nation in the world, the largest manufacturing country in the world, and the second largest economy in the world. All this makes a lot of sense. And I would say Vatican will be a very important landmark event. I understand the PRC government and Vatican have been talking with each other for several years, and the critical moment will come very soon.
Yeah, we're watching that very closely. Melisa, what do you make of Tsai Ing-wen's strategy to try and counter what China is doing? So we see Dominican Republic go China's way, and then we see Taiwan reach out to Haiti just across the border, offering them aid and trade and reconstruction funds and so forth. Is it just symbolic? I mean, clearly kind of pound for pound, dollar for dollar, as you mentioned. Taiwan can't compete. So will Taiwan just take these little victories as they go along as mere symbolic moments of pride?
Well, I think that if you look at how Taiwan actually works with its partners in Latin America and the remaining regions in the world, Taiwan actually contributes very substantively to the people's health, to the general population's well-being. They offer scholarships. It's not just about dollar for dollar. That's what China offers. That's what Beijing offers. Taiwan offers real substantive help, development, really growing infrastructure for these countries that benefits the majority of people, not just the elites who receive the dollars from Beijing. So I think that Tsai Ing-wen's strategy towards Beijing these days is to simply hold the line, to not be an aggressor, to try to keep the peace, and to try to protect the democracy and the human rights of her citizens. Since her inauguration, she has not accepted the 1992 consensus. I think that's what Victor Gao is kind of alluding to, but she has acknowledged its historical significance in keeping the peace across the strait. And I think that the DPP and Tsai Ing-wen herself would be very interested in maybe opening dialogue again with Beijing. It was Beijing that cut off dialogue. It's been Beijing that restarted the checkbook diplomacy ever since she was elected for no reason other than her refusal to wholeheartedly accept the 1992 consensus without any further discussion or sort of renewal. It's been so many years. How can a new president simply accept an old policy formulated before she was in power? So I think it's a little unfair to say that Taiwan's been in any way the cause for these poor relations across the strait, and the sudden renewal of countries flowing to China is because China's opened up the checkbook again. They had it closed. We can't fault these less developed countries for going where they can receive the maximum benefit for themselves. Anyone would do that. And I don't think Taiwan is ignorant to that fact. I think that they just will try to continue working with their unofficial partners, such as the United States or Japan, and working with their official partners in the most meaningful way possible.
Victor, very finally, do you accept that you can learn a lot from them? They're better at democracy, they're better at human rights, they're better at substantive development in countries that don't have much. Is that a fair point? Could China learn from them?
Fundamentally, people in mainland China and people in Taiwan are of the same origin, same civilization, same culture. We are brothers and sisters. We do not want to have a war. We want to have peaceful reunification. We want to embrace each other as the Koreans are doing, as the Germans are doing. And we can learn a lot from our brothers and sisters in Taiwan. We benefited a lot by working closely with our brothers and sisters in Taiwan. And I think the mega trend is here. There is only one China. Eventually, there will be unification. And peaceful unification is much better than anything non-peaceful. And let's work together to achieve eventually the peaceful reunification of China.
Okay, Victor Gao and Melisa Newcomb, I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers.